and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Today we are here discussing a very difficult existential question, the difficulty of being Rahul Gandhi. We've just seen the brouhaha caused by his comments in Cambridge, in London, when he spoke about India, when he said that India is a union of states, at which, he was attacked for being not nationalistic enough. India is a nation. He also is putting forward his idea of Hinduism as opposed to Prime Minister Modi's. Now, as a political leader, he can voice his thoughts. But the question is not just his thoughts, but also the timing and the venue. Should he be voicing his thoughts abroad? But then, of course, we come to the state of the Congress party under Rahul. We just seen another high-profile exit in the form of Kapil Sibal. A few days earlier, Hardik Patel left. One by one, everybody is deserting the Congress under Rahul Gandhi. Congress is turning a blind eye. We saw a Chintan Shivir where they refused to take note of all the criticism. The whole idea of that Chintan Shivir was again to put faith in the Gandhi family and to, pave the way for Rahul Gandhi as the next party president. So what is happening? Are we being too harsh on Rahul Gandhi, or is he just too blinded by his own self and his own thoughts and the ideology of being Rahul rather than the ideology of India? That is something I'm going to be discussing today with my panel. I have joining me Suhail Seth, who's a marketing maven. He's also someone who knows a lot about branding, and of course, he's a political commentator. Neerja Chaudhary, she is a political columnist and commentator, and Rashid Kidwai, columnist, author of 24 Akbar Road and commentator. Neerja, I'll begin with you first. How do you see us viewing Rahul Gandhi, and how do you see the politics of Rahul Gandhi?
That's like a huge question, Priya. How do you see the politics of Rahul Gandhi? I must say that I am a bit tired of rubbish Rahul. This campaign that's just gone on and on and on and on. And, when I read reports of his speech in Cambridge, I thought, what is he doing? My first reaction was that. This morning, I heard the entire, his interaction. And I thought it wasn't bad at all. Of course, I could pick holes in a whole lot of things. You don't agree with him. But he answered questions cogently. It was his view. It's another matter that he needed to be prepared 10 steps ahead. If he was going to flag off an idea that India is a union of states and not a nation, he said, is a kingdom. It's a Western concept. Then he needed to be prepared for the kind of onslaught that came, and the counter to that, the counter to that, and so on. The next 10 steps he needed to be prepared for. So I think the point is not that, the politics of Rahul. The point about Cambridge, and that's the central point I want to make, is this. If you're going to talk about the ideological underpinnings of what the Congress party stands for today, whether it's Hinduism versus Hindutva, which he talked about in Rajasthan at a conference on inflation, is this the party line? Has this line been evolved after much discussion, brainstorming within the party? Or is it something that Rahul Gandhi will tweet on, will speak at Cambridge, will speak at Rajasthan, arbit? And that is now taken as the policy of the Congress party, and congressmen have to then, and women have then to defend it. Now, I think the central question to my mind is not even one of leadership of the Congress, which is very important and which was not addressed at Udaipur. It is how decisions are being made in the Congress party and will be made in the Congress party. And who will be making those decisions? If 3 people are going to make those decisions, or 1 person is going to make the decision, you will have the kind of mess that we are seeing the Congress in today.
So Suhail, we have this idea. Do you see Rahul as being a clueless man with a good soul, but just hasn't done his homework properly, or a clueless leader wrapped in his own bubble of his own, sense of self and dynasty?
See, the problem, as I've said earlier on your show as well, is I'm no one to comment on Rahul Gandhi's niceness or ugliness. It's not my place, and I'm not equipped to do that. I'm seeing Rahul Gandhi as a person who is today in charge of the Congress party, more or less. The mother is there, but he's more or less the person who calls the shots. In my mind, the gravitas, the strategic initiatives expected of someone in his role he has fallen short of them. Nirja made a very interesting point, saying that he should be better prepared. I mean, that is a given. It's a non sequitur. You cannot go anywhere. Forget Cambridge. You can't go to, Sahitya Kala Academy and be unprepared. For a leader to then wing it, to my mind, is problematic. You rightly alluded to Chintan Shivar. It was more Gandhi Shivar, where they were shivering from attacking the Gandhis. The problem is that the Gandhis are seemingly the glue that binds the Congress, but trust me, Fevicol is cheaper and does a better job. Now coming to where Rahul Gandhi and what he did at Cambridge. I have absolutely no issues with what he did in Cambridge, except for only one. By all means, argue the concept of nationhood. By all means, talk about the federalism or the lack of it in India today. But you don't bash your own country when you're abroad, period. You don't do it. And you especially don't do it when you have a nationalistic, right-wing regime in India with its army of people who are then going to rally around and kill you in social media or across other channels. He always puts himself out for attack. So there are two problems there. Number one, either he relishes, there is some sadistic streak in him which relishes the fact that people attack him. He thinks it's a symbol of victimhood or martyrdom, but actually it paints him in very poor light. The second is the gravitas and the maturity which is expected from a long-term parliamentarian, which he is also lacking. I have no issues with, you keep arguing, all of us don't have to have the same view on life. I mean, I've done millions of speeches, not millions, but at least 30, 40 at Cambridge. They set you up to fail because that's the whole purpose. The purpose is whether you're in the Oxford Union, whether you're in the Cambridge Debating Society, wherever you are, they want to set you up to fail. They want to probe. They haven't invited you because you look good or you're wearing a nice dark bangala with socks that should actually be more than ankle high. They are actually there trying to pick holes. And if you come unprepared, it shows three things. Number one, that you are coming from a sense of entitlement, that you think, "Main jo kahunga, wohi satya vachan hai." Number two, you take your audiences lightly, whether the audiences are in England or whether it's back home. Number three, as Nirja said, you have no fallback. Now let's imagine I had delivered that speech or that Q&A and someone attacked me for the concept of nationhood. I would argue till the cows came home as to why the concept of federalism as defined by the Union of States is in sync with Article 1 of the Indian Constitution. You don't leave half sentences when you're in a position of leadership. You complete the loop. His problem is he's unable to complete the loop anywhere. He has some brilliant thing. Please remember, for 2 years at the start of the BJP government's first term, his simple comment, "Soot boot ki sarkar," prevented reforms from happening. So people do sit up and take notice. And my last point very quickly is, I always say he has the IRQ. He has an irrelevant quotient, which is made relevant by the ruling party. If Rahul Gandhi was not important, or if he did not stoke the fires, or he did not be of irritation value, why would they continuously attack? So he's in a good position that way. Now what he needs to do is he needs to cerebrally fortress himself so that people respect the mind and don't just respect the position of entitlement that he holds today.
Brilliant critique, Sohail, really. Rashid, even before Rahul Gandhi left, I was talking to a Congress leader. He's saying, "Abhi fir jayega aur kuch bolega wahan pe, and hame defend karna padega." He'll go and attack the country, Modi, over there in foreign soil. His leaders, his party can anticipate it. Why can't Rahul anticipate all this? Like, he could have said all this in India, and it wouldn't have created at least the one fundamental problem that you're being anti-national.
Yeah, two things. Rahul Gandhi is a bundle of contradictions. He says something, means something. He is not taking the mantle of leadership. He says anybody can be, Congress leader or Congress president. He says power is poison. All these things are there. But then every politician is a bundle of contradictions. You look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What did he do in 2013, 14, and where each time he went abroad, what kind of example he set? He dragged the opposition. He described the opposition as being anti-national, not being cooperative, against reforms, all those things. The whole idea of this, speaking on foreign soil and all is extremely jaded and outdated, because you have Twitter, you have entire social media. It is no relevance where you are speaking. It will amplify. So this is our own kind of, sense of entitlement, that we want to criticize somebody for that because he has spoken. See, he is gone, as Mr. Sahgal said, is saying Oxford and all, they make a mincemeat of a, speaker, but that's fine. That's the culture. And what Rahul Gandhi said about India, Nirja ji also said this. See, whatever you say about India, the opposite is equally true. Okay. So when he says union of states, you take away all the states from India, map of India. What kind of India would we have? We know that there were 565 princely states were there. And of course, they were all had, this notion of India and Indianness. But we also know that some of them were aspiring to, and some of them did, go out of the country. So in that sense, Rahul was not, wrong in saying about that. But as Mr. Sahgal said, is saying, he should have, explained and, defended himself nicely and properly, not in the half-ready sentences and all. So Rahul has to act his, set his act together. One last thing from my side, actually, in order to be a leader of a party, you must command respect. You can go on with due respect to Nirja ji, but she said about that, 2-3 people making decision. All political parties in India are doing that. There is Modi, Amit Shah. There is, of course, this, Stalin and, Jagan Mohan Reddy and KCR's family, but they're doing it successfully. So nobody's questioning them. All political parties do that. But here he's a failure. So average Congress person has lost respect for Rahul, and that is frightening. They didn't lose respect for Rajiv. They didn't lose respect for Sanjay Gandhi. The moment Narasimha Rao lost respect, he was shown the door. The way the moment Sitaram Kesri, failed to command respect, he was shown the door. This is something Rahul Gandhi and Gandhi should take it seriously. Just say, like I have written in also that once, are they waiting for the time when somebody in the Congress gets up and says, ab aapse nahi ho payega, aap jaiye. That the same thing was told to Narasimha Rao. So this is something, this is a scenario that is building up. Puri, just like one of the dialogues of Shah Rukh Khan film, puri kainat uske khilaf hai. So Rahul knows, you look at the kind of, not your media, but a lot of media, when they discuss Rahul, it's a with a predetermined mode, it's a with a sense of motive, which is not there in your show.
Thank you. I'm going to take a break and come back and also discuss, Rahul's, the question raised. Nija said that he talked Hinduism at a rally on inflation. Sahgal also pointed out the fact that nothing wrong in what he said, but where he said it. So is Rahul's branding all wrong? Is his content okay? His ideas okay? If you want to attack BJP, you have to also, undermine their ideology to put forth another counter narrative and a counter ideology. But the way he's doing it, is that not clicking then? So after a break. Anita, Rahul Gandhi, maybe he has the right idea because he says also, if I have to counter BJP, I have to counter the RSS and take them on. But the way, he's got a very long-winded way of talking. You lose track of what he's saying by the time he finishes speaking. Is this the way of communicating the big problem, and how and why and where he says things?
No, that can be a problem. Priya, you've had very uncharismatic or very, dhila speakers. I remember JP before the 1977 elections at Shivaji Park meeting. He could barely speak. It was whispers. He was sitting in a chair. And that Shivaji Park with 1 lakh people, there was a pin drop silence. Because there was a credibility. They were trained to hear every word he wanted to say. So language is a limited thing. I think, I'll just digress a little to make my point. I sometimes feel, Priya, that we haven't fully understood this phenomenon called Modi. Of course, it is Hindutva. Of course, it's nationalism. Of course, it is subaltern politics. Of course, it is social welfareism. And, OBC castes and lower castes being given importance. It is a combination of all that. But I think we need to go further. We need to understand why, despite all the mistakes they have made, huge mistakes, whether it's demonetization, handling of GST, whether it's COVID, despite the vaccinations rolled out, they keep winning elections. And I think it is more to do, more than the machinery also. And I asked this question, and it's linked to Rahul Gandhi. I asked this, is India changing? And is there a growing aversion to entitlement? Entitlement per se. Today you had these two bureaucrats used to walk their dog in Tyagaraja Stadium in Delhi, shown the door, it created outrage, and there is huge relief and welcome. That's also entitlement. So is India changing? Is that part of the problem? Modi is viewed as, अगर गांव में जाओ तो लोग कहते हैं ना कि इनका कोई फैमिली नहीं, इनका अपना नहीं, अपने के लिए थोड़ी छोड़ना चाह रहे हैं, नियत तो ठीक है, गलतियां करें तो भी. So I think has the time come to give somebody else a chance? It may prove to be disaster, but have a go at it. It's a young India. And by guarding, I can understand in this climate of hostility, the Gandhi family is going to be targeted hugely if they give up their power. But is there a way of safeguarding that? Or, if nothing else, Rahul Gandhi come up front and say, I'll be the Congress president. I'll take the flag head on for all the decisions. Ye jo hai na ki mother will be the the interim president. She may well become Congress president in September if Rahul is not prepared to take the responsibility, and the status quo will continue, that he makes the decisions behind the scenes. That, I think, is going to do nothing for the Congress party. Come up front, take responsibility, lead the party, or make way for somebody else.
A lot of points raised by Anija, Sohail, but the politics of entitlement, and are the Gandhi family the symbol of that politics? That is what, maybe if there was another man as prime minister from the BJP, Rahul would have stood a chance, but the fact that he's against the cult of Modi and the whole politics of Modi, that's his biggest problem.
So I don't want to replug an article that I wrote when the first issue happened with Rahul recently, where I said that there are three things that are happening in today's India. One is the contribution of the Gandhi family is no longer of prime importance or value, because a lot of the young people don't even know who Indira Gandhi was, lesser even Rajiv Gandhi. Number one. Number two, the sense of entitlement many a time keeps you in a state of denial. The problem with Rahul Gandhi is he's in a permanent state of denial. He genuinely believes he's doing the right thing. But the country and he are not in sync, because if they were, then a lot of these problems would have not occurred. Number three, no one in the Congress party is willing to take these people head on. Now you tell me, you cannot have anything called partial pregnancy. Either you have someone who's willing to lead or someone who then steps aside. You cannot have a leader in waiting of a political party that is by the day self-imploding. You have people leaving in the droves. How are you going to stem the rot? How are you going to stop the hemorrhaging? No one has a plan. You talked about brands. Rahul is a weak and flawed brand. Brands are about benefits. When Nirja or Priya or Rashid buy surf, they're not buying surf. They're buying the whitest wash. The benefit is the whitest wash. Today, what benefit does Rahul Gandhi provide? None. The surname today is a disadvantage rather than an advantage. Maybe 20 years ago, it would have been advantageous. It is no longer an advantage. What are the other pillars of benefits that the Gandhi family today can offer as a bouquet to the people of India, including the people within the Congress party, which will make them relevant and respected? You cannot, as Rashid rightly says, you cannot be the leader of a party which actually silently mocks you or which makes fun of you. That is at the heart of striking leadership. Finally, Narendra Modi is an unstoppable engine who is working on multiple fronts. She says deconstructing Modi was my briefing client. I wrote the first piece in 2008 saying this man will one day become prime minister. It's available on the net. Why? Because in today's India, we have changed from a nation of shopkeepers to a nation of entrepreneurs. What the BJP is doing is they're investing entrepreneurship into their party. They're constantly changing. At times, they support parties that they hated. At times, they support parties that were allied with them. They dumped Shiromani Akali Dal when they needed to. So Modi has no a fixation about carrying on relations if those relations come in the way of him winning a political mandate. The Gandhis still run politics as a family enterprise. Modi runs it as a corporation. Mostly, corporations survive. Family enterprises splinter if the family is divided. Today, I don't even know what role Priyanka Gandhi is or will play. That's the tragedy of the Congress. And it's sad because it's a great party. It has done yeoman service to India. We, by wishing away the Congress, we are wishing away a principal pole position of democracy. No democracy functions without an opposition. So I pray to God that the Congress comes back to some level of relevance and power.
But for that to happen, Rashid, we really need brand Rahul to rejuvenate and reinvent or do something, or is it the fact that Rahul is okay? It's just that he's caught at the wrong time. He's pitched against Modi. If he was pitched against, say, Advani, he may have, just the Congress may have won. So that's also part of the flaw, part of the problem that he is facing.
Yes, Priya, that's there, but age is on his side. He has, we must, in an academic and dispassionate sense, debate whether it is, Gandhis are failing the Congress or Congress is failing the Gandhis. Constantly, Mr. Sohail said criticism, just criticism is absolutely valid. But what happens? You look at the conduct of G23, they were saying all kind of things to us, to media, to everywhere. When the moment, came at Udaipur, 3 days, not one voice was raised about this. So if you are just your idea of happiness is a Rajya Sabha birth, then it's all right, it's fine. Then don't make this kind of pretensions. I was in Dehradun recently, and where Mr. Harish Rawat told me, I was just talking about Congress, and he said, look, tell me one leader who can get a crowd of 500 or more in Dehradun for me. So he says, you see, it will only be, Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi who can get this kind of thing. So this factor is constantly fuel given to the three Gandhis. So they have a sense of, believing this, that without them, the Congress would not function. So I think a lot of it is the laziness and incompetence of the Congress that is come at the doorstep of Gandhis. This is not an excuse. This is stark reality.
Then, Nija, to take from what Sohail said, what the Congress needs to do is what the BJP is doing, transactional politics instead of legacy politics. Is that the right summation of what you said, Sohail?
Yeah. He's running it as a business.
I think I would say that the Congress, very simply put, needs to work hard. It's become a flabby party. It's become a drawing room party. I remember the first Phulpur meeting that Rahul Gandhi addressed. And I thought, circuit house mein jaake dekhte hain, what is the stock taking that so many leaders all came. The moment Rahul Gandhi left, there was not a single person in that circuit house. Everybody had shown their faces and gone. Now, Rahul has talked in Cambridge again of the need to bring millions of young people into the Congress, fresh blood. He said it's not going to be easy. It is not proved to be easy. So the problems are there. But there is simply no shortcut to hard work. And I'll just give the example of Amit Shah. Amit Shah sent to Uttar Pradesh in 2013 in the month of May. In 1 year, he takes the tally of the BJP from 10 Lok Sabha seats to 71 Lok Sabha seats. Setting up the organization from scratch virtually. And this was when the UPA is in power. It's not as if they are in power in the center. Sheer dint of hard work. You can criticize Amit Shah on a lot of things, but sheer dint of hard work. Now, give me one congressman today or a woman who will do that. Priyanka, let me say this, Priyanka did well in the recent election. She didn't win, but she
did a lot of hard work.
Hard work, and she fought well and imaginatively. But this is not an overnight revival. That kind of thing needs to be done across the board, and they need to find the people, younger people, who will, do that.
Rashid has a name for you. Rashid, you wanted to name?
No, she said it. I said, look, the hard work, of course, hard work also has, limitations. You look at not only Akhilesh Yadav's or Jayant Chaudhary's hard work, you look at Priyanka Gandhi's hard work, 209 public meetings. Sometimes it doesn't work. Political parties work hard. there is no denying. We must also remember there is a phase that I keep saying, and Neetaji would vouch for it. It was not that during Indira Gandhi era, position was not good or lacked that kind of from Lohiya to Jyoti Basu to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. They were all there. They could not beat Indira Gandhi for they did finally in 1977, but they could not do it in most part of her life. So it happens. So it is happening with the Congress also. I am saying it is the Congress that needs to pull its socks rather than just blindly relying on looking up to Gandhis. Gandhis are wrong in getting that kind of import from the party that, oh, they say that, Rahul Gandhi is Zindabad, so he actually believes that without him, Congress cannot, function. So this is the kind of illusion of grandeur that they have, which they should get rid of.
Final word to you, Sohail.
I'm not impressed with the phrase hard work. Hard work is for mules. Human beings have to work smart. The tragedy is that in India, for far too long, we've given a lot of weightage to hard work. Bhai, 18 ghante kaam karta hai. I know a lot of people who work for 18 hours and do nothing, achieve nothing. My advice to Rahul Gandhi is work smart, be smart about the realities of a changing, oblique new India, and then recognize. See, it's very important first to recognize what you're not good at before you go out to conquer the world. Like, I will never run the Olympics because I know I will not even be able to run to the loop. So I've accepted that. It's time that he
not
accepts
saying
that.
What should Rahul not do?
Well, I will say this. He is not unintelligent. A lot of people have used the sobriquet, pappu, blah, blah, blah. That is unfair and uncharitable. There must be something that he has. The tragedy is he's like a ship in the night. It sails, but no one sees it. He's got to be a ship in the day.
On that note, or at least, as you said, it's all at the end comes to being a ship in the day. Be seen, be heard, get your messaging right, and, do what you're good at doing instead of, trying to do everything and be the one savior of the Congress. There are other people who can help you in that. But thank you for this conversation, and thank you all for watching the show.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.